back, boys and girls. It's your main math man, Mr. Shank, coming to you live from Walker Graham Middle School. And in this video, I'm going to be working on that Lab 9 content activity number 2. And so what you're going to be doing with this is, you have those different shapes, but they're going to be combined together. So you're going to take any of these 2D shapes and you're going to put them, together. It could be 1, 2, or more. So make sure you're using those formulas carefully. So in the first one, it says this. It says use the figure below to complete sections A and B. So it gives you, some rectangles here. And what I can do from that is I can maybe, separate it first, or I can read directions. So let's do that. So it says for A, I'm going to be finding the area. In B, I'm going to be finding the perimeter. So let's do this. When I have the area, what I can do is I can say, well, I'm going to have 2 rectangles. So I wanted to identify the shapes. So I'm going to say 2 rectangles. I have 2 rectangles. Then I want to say, well, what do I do next? I want to label what I have. So I could say, let's see, let me make a cut. Let's make a cut about right here. The reason why I'm doing this is because now I have a rectangle X and a rectangle Y. What I can now do is I can separate them on the side, and I can say, all right, let's have this be X and let's have this be Y. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay, as long as you're able to show the dimensions. And so what are going to be the length and width of those rectangles? Well, for X, it's going to be 8 centimeters, and for its width or length is going to be 16. For the section Y, what do you guys think? Well, let's see what we can do. So it's not going to already have it all the time, so we need to kind of piece together and use those ideas. So I know that this entire length, let's actually go ahead and highlight that. I'm going to say this entire length, I know it has to be equal to its opposite side. Again, that's a property of those rectangles. I can say those are going to be equal to each other. And so I know that this entire length, I'm talking about this plus this, is going to be equal to each other. Well, I do know those 2 lengths on top, and so I have 8 plus 22 is 30. So I'm going to say that that opposite side is also 30. But then what is going to be this side here? Well, similar idea. We can say, well, if we take and have this length we know is 29, that also means it's opposite side, because it's kind of almost like we're filling it in. We're saying, okay, this length plus this length is going to be equal to 29. So, well, how would we figure that out? Well, you'd say I could take 29. I'm saying 29 is the same as 16 plus another number. And what I have to do, what number plus 16 is 29? It would be 13. So I could say my other side length right here is going to be 13. So I said 13, and this is 30. I might need to use that later on. So I'm going to write centimeters, that way I have it. So now that I have this, let's find the areas of these shapes. So I'm going to say, all right, the area, like I say, area of X. Well, what is that formula for it? Luckily for us, I'm going to say that it is going to be the length times width, super simple one. So let's do just that. It's equal to length times width. And so I'm going to say the area of X is going to be 8 times 16. And make sure you use that calculator carefully. I'm going to say 8 times 16 is going to be 128. I want to say centimeters squared because I'm talking about area. So, area of X, we found that. How about the area of Y? We're going to say, well, we have our length times the width still. I'm going to say area of Y is going to be equal to 30 times 13. Let's figure out what that is. Make sure this is on screen. Hopefully it is. And so we're going to say 30 times 13. So we're going to say area of that shape Y is 390. And we're going to say still centimeters squared. If you have noticed, I have not circled my answer yet. That means that I have not gotten my answer. Well, what is the question that we are looking for? We are looking for finding the area of the composite figure. So what does that mean? When it says that word composite, what does it mean? It means that we have to combine those two values together. So we're going to say the area of this entire shape is going to be x plus y, which is going to be 128 plus that 390. Double check our answer, plus 1.8. So it's going to be 518. So we're going to say it's equal to 518 centimeters squared. Again, always show your work to support your answer. Otherwise, it's kind of embarrassing. For the part B, I can read it here. It says, find the perimeter of the composite figure. Well, that's a little bit different than the area of it, because if you only find the area, usually I like to separate and add or subtract those. However, when you're finding the perimeter, we're just talking about, the outside. We're talking about the outside amount. So when we go to do this, you just have to trace along the outside and add. So add up all these sides. A lot of people would have just added these four numbers together and said that's my perimeter. However, that's not true. You have to make sure you're adding up all the sides. And so let's have it like this. I can say I have 8 plus 16 plus 22 plus 13 plus 30 plus 29. So let me write it down here. I'm going to say I have 8 plus 16 plus 22 plus 13 plus 30 plus 29. Add those all together. Let's do 30, 60, 29 plus 29. So we have 60 plus, and then we have 58. It's going to be 118. So we're going to say all together, yep, we have 118, and let's say centimeters. The reason why we don't have our units to a different power is because we're just talking about the outside line of that. So now flipping to the back, I can say for number 2, it says the figure shown is composed of a square and an equal lateral triangle. The side length of the square is 15 inches. What is the distance around? So notice that keyword around. Again, anytime you are reading these problems, make sure that you are reading them carefully. And so I said that I had the distance around it is going to be that perimeter. So I say distance is the perimeter. And so, well, since we know that it is an equal lateral triangle, that means that equal sides. So what does that mean? Well, it's saying this, since it's a square, we know that this is 15, this is 15, and also too, that this is 15. Be mindful though, we're still talking about perimeter, so we only need these sides. So we're gonna say, all right, we have 15, 15, 15, and 15. So let's do, how many sides do we have? We can count them up. We can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can do 15 times 5. So we're gonna say 25, 75, and we're gonna say inches as our answer. Again, we don't have that power because we are talking about just perimeter. Moving on. The next one, it says this. It says find the area of the composite figure below. And we want to round to the 100th. Again, that's the second, let's say that's the second decimal place. And a reason why you can do that is this. I can say, well, we always let pi equal 3.14. All right, so let's see what we have here. Well, I have, some shapes here, and I actually already cut it for us very simply. So what we can see is this. I can say I have a trapezoid and I have a circle. So, or part of a circle, I should say. I have a semicircle. So let's identify that. I have a trapezoid. and I have a semicircle. Semicircle, that means just half of a circle. So let's label it as X and Y like last time. So I'm gonna say X and Y. I want to redraw those shapes, and so let's do this. I want to say, all right, I have that this, let's do it like this. Oh man, a little too far on that part, but that's okay. As long as you are getting the values down, that is the important part. Then we can do that semicircle like this. We'll say that's Y. All right. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect as long as you're saying it carefully. So now, let's see what we have. So we're saying, okay, well, I will need to find the area of, let's say the area of X. What is that formula? Well, again, identify where your trapezoid is at. We have that this is our formula, so let's do it like this. Let's have this is equal to the height times the first base, so base 1 plus base 2, just the two sides, top and bottom, and we all divide it by 2. So let's find and see what we have for that. So we have one of the side lengths is 32. We have the height as 26. The other side is 14, and we are good. So we have our three sides that we need. So we're going to plug those values in for our variables. So I'm going to say that the area of X is going to be equal to, what's the height? It is 26. So I'm going to say 26 times my first base plus my second base. So it's going to be 32 plus 14 all over 2. I can work inside the parentheses first. I have 32 plus 14. So let me do that. So I have 32 plus 14 is going to be 46. So I have 26 times 46 all over 2. So let me do that very quickly in that calculator. So I do 26 times 46, and I do divided by 2. So I'm going to say the area of X is going to be equal to 598, and we're going to say inches squared. So we're still talking about area, so we have that second power on our units. Don't forget, we still need to have our semicircle Y. So we're going to say, all right, well, what does it give us? If we're saying this part is 14, let me write that a little better. We're saying this part is 14, but what is that 14? Well, that is going to be the diameter, which possibly helps us because we know that the diameter is twice the radius, which means that the radius is half of 14. So we're going to say it's 7. Again, when you go to write that formula out, since we are talking about half of a circle, excuse me, I have half of a circle, I'm going to say pi r squared, and we're going to say divided by 2 since we have half of a circle. Plug in those values for those variables, and so I'm going to say 3.14, and then we're going to say r squared, which is 7 times itself, have that, let's call it the exponent inside that parenthesis, that way we know we're good. So let's do it like this. 7 times 7 is 49. We have 49, I'll make sure it's on here, 49 times 3.14, and divided by 2. And so we're going to say this is equal to 760, or yeah, 760. Let's say 76.93 inches squared. We don't have to worry about rounding because we already have it to the second decimal place, and so we just add these two together. And so when you add 76.93 and you add it to the 598, a grand total of, again, we're going to say area of X plus the area of Y is going to be equal to 674.93 inches squared. Excellent. You're going to be able to follow those steps that you're saying. I said I want to identify my shapes, trapezoid, semicircle, label my shapes X and Y. I want to find the area of each of the shapes, area of X, area of Y, and then I add them together. Again, this is super simple as long as you can follow those steps. Lastly, numero quattro, number 4. A landscape fertilized the, a landscaper, there we go, person, fertilized the yard surrounding the house and shed, represented by the shaded region shown below. How much fertilizer will he need? So, it's talking about this area here. Again, that's that shaded area, which I guess that would help to move down. It's that shaded area in here. And so what we need to do is this, since we're only finding the shaded area, we have to find, let's do this one at a time. All right, first step, identify my shapes. I have a rectangle. I have a big rectangle, actually, rectangle. Let's label that X. I have a square. There we go. That's the word I was looking for, square, which we can say is H since it already has the house there. And we have the shed, which is also a square as well. And so I can label that as S, sure. And you notice, hey, why am I not having a plus sign here? Usually I would, since I'm doing composite figures, I would be adding them. However, since it's only talking about that shaded region, what I need to do is this. I need to now find the area of this rectangle and then take out the areas of the house and the shed. So let's do just that. I'm going to redraw my shapes. So I have my rectangle X. Luckily I have enough space down there. I have my rectangle X, which we said was 48 by 24. I have my square, still a rectangle, but that's okay. I have my square H, which is the house. It's an equal sides because it is a square, so it's 15 by 15. And we have another square S, same kind of setup. It's the shed, so it's going to be 5 yards by 5 yards. So I identified my shapes, I labeled my shapes, I redrew my shapes, and now I have to find the area of each of these shapes. So very simple, I can do it like this. I can say area of X is going to be length times width, which is going to be this. It's going to be 48 times 24, quick math. It's going to end in an even number, 48 times 24. It's going to be 1,000. So the area of X is going to be 1,152. We're going to say that's yards squared. Then we can say, again, since it's a square, the rectangle formula still works, so it's still just length times width. So I do length times width, 15 times 15. Anytime you use parentheses, just multiply. 15 squared is 225. So I have 225 yards squared. There it is. So area of H, the house, is that much. And then the area of the shed is going to be the same. I just do length times width. Area of S is just going to be 5 times 5. Again, be careful on those S's and 5's as it is dangerous. So S is going to be 5 times 5, which is 25. And then we have yards squared. Are you done? Never. Are you close? Absolutely. So let's do this. We said we need to take our large rectangle, so we have the area of X, and we now need to subtract those two smaller ones. So we're going to say minus H minus S. So we're going to say 1,152 minus 225 minus that 25, which gives us our area of shade, let's say shaded region. Area of the shaded region is going to be as follows. Let's actually do 1152. And so we can say a grand total of 902 yards squared is the area of the shaded region. So again, make sure you're taking and finding the large area first and then subtracting out the parts that you don't need. Again, you would not want to fertilize your house or shed or anything inside of that, so be mindful of that. Always feel free to ask questions, and as always, super slam that subscribe button.